Wow, great stuff, ladies and gentlemen. A big, big round of applause. On that note, Anil, over to you.
In fact, I was tempted when I saw the promo to download the app, which I did around 6 or 8 months ago, actually, News9 Plus. And are you really on steroids? I believe you are. I see you on rollerblades, and I see you like wanting to possibly leapfrog into another level totally.
It's a question or a statement?
It's a question and a statement.
No, I'm not on steroid. I don't need it yet.
Okay.
I don't know about tomorrow.
Yeah, but
as
you
of
seem
now,
to be like a man on steroids.
No, you know, that's a natural restlessness in me. I mean, it's very difficult that next, 15, 20 minutes to be sitting and chatting. I would have an irresistible urge to go down and manage things, make people comfortable. So I'm a restless soul as such.
Yeah, you've seen it all. You've been with various media companies, then you've got TV9 now, which you took over, I think, around 3 years ago? Or was it 3 years ago?
3 years.
And since then, the news business has been a bit of tizzy, in a way. Ratings went, ratings came back. Now the TV news channels are not being rated again. So tell me, and you know, revenues are really tight to come by. Tell me, how's TV9 been doing?
I think, you know,
and one more thing, what have you done right?
Okay, I'll tell you that. First, what we've done, then I'll tell you what we've done right. I think we had a stupendous run. We've done very well over the last 3 years. Despite going through COVID, our revenue has grown by almost 3 times in 3 years. And mind it that when we came into at the helm of things, the company was already 15 years old. Though the ownership changed hands and then they brought me in, I set up the entire management team. So it already had a base. So growing 300% in 3 years on an existing base is really commendable. And then we went through COVID and we recruited close to about 1,000 people during the year 2020-21. While you would know most of the industry was, most of the industries were retrenching people and we recruited people. So we were almost at the bottom of the growth curve. Why? The company had 2 very strong brands in the south, TV9 Telugu and TV9 Kannada. So that's about it. It wasn't run like a true corporate organization. Kudos to the earlier owners and management. They really built 2 very strong brands. So our job was cut out. Make your presence felt in North India. Drive the expansion. We got promoter investors who are very progressive. One thing that they have done, they realized that an organization is best run by professionals. So ours is, that's the crux of it. Ours is one news organization where the intervention from the investors is zero, virtually zero, not really, almost zero.
Despite the fact that they run a very, very strong real estate company up in AP, Telangana?
That's right. So one of them is that both their combined annual turnover would be close to 5 billion USD. So they are very big. So maybe this business is too small for them to pay any attention. But I think they have the mindset of almost Western investors where they believe that you get a management team and empower them and don't really run the operations. You got him to run the operations. Otherwise, you wouldn't have got him on board. So that one right thing that has come from investors and constant guidance and encouragement. Any major decision never took more than 15 minutes in our setup. It's a very nimble-footed organization. We take the decision across the table and go and execute. The investors back us. So all these things put together, and then we were a little lucky. I mean, news is one industry, one medium where we considered ourselves part of the essential services. So we ran full operations during COVID, and we were lucky to have relaunched the national brand just before that. So then everything went right for us, and that's where we are. So it's a combination of a little bit helped by the environment. I'll say that COVID did help us. And then it's a strategy, planning, execution, and a great team. I mean, now I think the management team that we have, we can boast of being the, if not the best, but one of the best definitely in our industry.
Yeah, so, you know, you also gave increments during the COVID period, whereas others were kind of slashing salaries and pay packages. But didn't that hit your bottom line when advertisers were running helter-skelter trying to cut back on spends?
So we needed to be cautious, but Anil, as I said, even during this COVID year 21-22, I think our revenue grew by about 45% compared to previous year, if I can remember my figures correctly. And I saw, I for one attended the office every single day, no work from home, because I have my team working on the ground. I couldn't have sat in the closed and safe four walls of my house. So everybody worked, everybody gave their 100%, and while we had to be a little cautious, but midway through we thought that we've gone over the tide and we now can take that risk. So we went ahead and gave increment with retrospective effect across board, and since everybody worked hard, we kept a fixed percentage based on your level. I mean, if you're a low base, then your percentage is higher. As you go up, the percentage is low. So that is our way of exhibiting to our employees that, I mean, we care and we appreciate the good work that they've put together.
Yeah. So how do you view news? Is news content? And I saw your app over there. We'll come to the News9 Plus, but overall, in the world of video, how do you view content and news? Where do you position news within the content space?
See, it's a tricky subject. You have to be cautious about it when you discuss, because news you can't create, right? We need to report news, unlike entertainment channels, which is why I keep saying that, and I'm a proponent of 4 weeks average. In fact, I expressed also this, if the BARC report comes out 8 weeks average, I'm fine, because the BARC report matters only to advertisers who take a decision after seeing at least 4 weeks of performance. So why would you take out BARC report every week? And when they made it a rolling average, I think the mayhem and the knee-jerk reaction in newsrooms have reduced considerably. You take more strategic calls than very tactical call based on the Thursday report. So that, coming back to that, news is, you have to report, you can't manufacture news. So can you make content out of it? Yes, through treatment. And that would change from medium to medium as the industry, as the distribution platform evolves. Like we started with print, from print we came to television. Obviously the nuances of news coverage changed. From 24 hours television, then it came to digital. Everybody thought digital would be an extension of television or their print product. They woke up to the fact a few years down the line, they realized that digital is a completely different animal. And then currently, I think that's future, which is happening in entertainment domain, the OTT. Basically, what it gives you the power of choice. I can watch what I want when I want. So therefore, that is the new transition that news will have to make. And fortunately, it's not a marketing opportunity that I'll take, but I take immense pride in coming up with this concept of News9 Plus, which we will formally launch soon. And quite a few eminent personalities have said that this is the first innovation that they've seen in news, which is basically an OTT version of news. So their news is being converted into content. Everything is exclusive, but not as news broke. I think the news breaking would continue to happen on social media. So everything is content, which is treatment, perspective, analysis, which is our own. So there, the news makes the transition to content. And by doing that, I hope that we would be able to overcome the challenge that we have unsuccessfully faced so far as an industry, news industry, also as a media and entertainment industry, television industry. Because we are still dependent more on advertising revenue, which is not the case. If you say that global standard, they would have 70-80% of their revenue coming from distribution, which we failed out, especially news. Most of us are free to air. So what happens? We fail to leverage the largest advantage that India has, which is the large consuming middle class. But we are not interacting with them directly. We're not charging subscription fees from them. We are going via media. The consumers are paying, but via advertising. So that is a lost opportunity for news industry. I think that's what can be addressed through this. So News9 Plus eventually would be a paid app. For that, they are coming back to your questions, that unless and until people find the content worthwhile to pay for, then it won't stand a chance. So therefore, finally news can actually become content, can evolve into content, and in such a compelling content that consumers would not mind paying a substantial amount, which will make the business viable.
So what makes you so confident that people will pay for news? Because if you look at what Murdoch did in the past, when he used to run publications, news channels, they used to look at it as influencers of the general population. Apart from, because he ran so many publications, it was content in a way. So what makes you so sure that people would pay for news content which is appearing like a commodity today? Even if you analyze it, you repackage it, do whatever. The Beat has, or the online service in India, they have the audio podcast. Beat is the BBC, of course, sorry. I'm so used to calling it Beat. So what makes you sure that people will pay?
See, it will be a function of the ecosystem to start with. In what ecosystem you are operating. Typically newspapers, which is the original media, recovering maybe not even 20-25% of variable manufacturing costs. So dependence on advertising is more. Every newspaper is subsidized in India. So if you are working in that ecosystem, big question comes whether they would at all pay or not. But then I felt that time has come, we've done our research, that currently Indian English-speaking consumers, their propensity to pay for content which they feel worthwhile is on the rise. Many websites are paid. This is the right time to even think of it. But again, I tell you that it's part of an ecosystem. Let's say I price my app News9 Plus at $250 a month. Now, $250 a month for an English-speaking audience, which is mostly would be professionals. I don't think we can buy anything for 250 rupees which will last the entire month for us. So 250 rupees, sometimes we don't even count as change. So there should not be any, that's again the mindset. So once you overcome the mindset, then you give the value that the consumers find worth 250 bucks. So it will happen. It has to happen because you don't have an option.
Okay, I'm going to run a poll here. I want everyone in the audience who's willing to pay 250 rupees for News9 Plus to raise their hands here a month. Well, listen, not the TV9 guys. Put your hands down. The rest of them. Okay, 1, 2, 3. You're not even News9, right? No. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are about 8, 9, 10. That's Naman, is it? In the corner? No. Yeah. 10, 11, probably 12 people here. So would that be enough for you? Out of a population, English speaking, maybe Hindi speaking, and English speaking, broken Hindi, broken English. Like
so it is not going to be easy to start with. Again, I'm saying that we are fighting against a mindset, which is at least, I think the price war started by Economic Times, if I'm right, when Business Standard was giving run for their money some 25 years back, and they made it 1 rupee on a weekday. So it's a 25 years old habit, will die hard, definitely. But then if you give up and be part of the system, you'll remain where you are. So if you've done the poll now, in some way, if I can induce trial with them, I'm sure if you take the poll after that, you'll see more number of people. So it's not going to be an easy journey. I've answered many questions. This is one thing where I took the maximum time because a lot of our net proceeds is being invested back in News9 Plus. That they kept on asking this question that will people pay for it? So I said that listen, you have a choice. You want to be the 5th, 10th or 15th, or you want to be the first. If you're the first, you got to invest in market. As a pioneer, you will be investing in developing the market, but you'll reap the benefit so much more longer. So we decided, so investors' choice was very clear that they said that we want to be the first. So there you are.
Anyway, applause to you for taking the lead in this market, for pulling this ahead. You've got this grand plan of charging people. So what's the plan, going forward in terms of content on the app? So
brilliant question, Anil. Brilliant question. So I believe that people will pay for that news which they can use, right? It has to live up to this utility value. Feel good news, not much interested. Feel good entertainment, I'm interested. But news has to live up to the utility value. News has to provide utility, usage to people. That is where we'll take the mindset. So I think, what you have, you leverage your knowledge in your professional life. Unless and until, even if you're, in our profession, we do only either of two things. Some of us do both. One is either we churn numbers. Some professions, they are very number driven, like a finance professional, like a research professional, like an IT professional. The numbers or codes, or you talk, you communicate. Every function of our corporate ecosystem does one of these two things. So if you have to talk, you've got to know. So you need to be good enough to participate in any conversation. That's what will make the cut for you. So therefore the utility value is very important. And when we talk about utility value, we'll have a lot of focus on business content going forward. So when we actually turn it pay, you would say that significant amount of content would be business and economy related, which people will pay for.
Yeah, but that's been happening on Yahoo forever. I know people in the US who have Yahoo as their own page and they do their entire stock market investments. Money Control has been doing that forever. So why should I, as a person, subscribe to it when I already have existing devices on the online?
So that why is answered by these OTT platforms. You know, why do you go to library? There's every book available in the bookstore.
Sure.
So why do you still go there? Somebody has curated it for you based on your choice. They're stacked in a way that you pick up the book that you want, which is the reason that people will leave that free part out. The only thing which is most scarce in our life, beyond your mid-level corporate life, is actually time. Money is not that scarce to invest in. So if you have given curated content, understanding the case, and if I can watch it when I want, I don't think that there should
So
be.
you'll be using AI and ML
Of
to
course,
personalize
that's
the
part
content.
of it. You know, unless and until you have the reverse channel, you got to know each one of your customers, what they're doing.
So you're going to use the Netflix model
It
in
is the
terms of...
it is, Netflix is a generic for OTT, absolutely.
Absolutely. So News9 Plus is going to be the Netflix of news television content. I prefer to call it news television content rather than news.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I think we first unveiled it in on 30th March 2022. I think on the same day, CNN Plus launched it. In the
And
world.
they called it out.
No, they didn't come. They got taken over by Discovery,
And
who
it was
felt
called
that felt that they don't need a separate
Absolutely.
app. So they actually shut it down on 29th of April, because on 30th April,
David Sachs does not decide.
no, automatic renewal would have happened.
Yeah.
So at this point in time, there's none other. So it's a bold step. But again, I said that I decided to be the first and not the 5th or 15th.
Great. And then, so therefore you want to have international bureaus. I believe there's an international launch plan. You're looking at actually making it the Indian OTT for the world, or is it going to be the Indian OTT for Indians?
See, I needed to justify my job, right? I don't see that if I have not gone into expansions or innovative products like News9 Plus or Money9, I would have had much to do with TV9. We are the largest news network, and the number 2 is far behind us. So I think we'll continue to rule that space as broadcast TV network as long as they last. So we wanted to do something new. So the way we planned it, so TV9 would be the regional language brand within India. We have an aspiration of taking News9 Plus to international arena, where News9 would be an international brand in English, and we have an aspiration of addressing the biggest challenge, one of the biggest challenges that India has at this point in time, that we lack. There are a lot of things happening in favor of India. I mean, the rise to the global head table is quite evident, but what we lack, according to me, is a voice, is mouthpiece in the global arena.
But we have Beyond currently, but that's...
I'm saying that, well, fine, there are not enough. I don't think that Beyond is, according to me, is more an Indian channel. It's not a global channel. It's a global channel for India, but it's not a channel about India to the world. So nonetheless, even if two are better, more the merrier. So, but India still lacks that strong voice in the international arena. So that's our dream, that's our aspiration. I always believe that you set out to reach the moon, somewhere in between you'll settle down. So we want to take that brand.
So there'll be a lot of jobs for international journalists going forward?
Oh, I got a fabulous term given to me by my friend Arnab. So when I spoke to him about that,
Arnab Goswami.
Arnab Goswami.
The man who everyone
So
loves to
I
hate,
publicly,
or hates to love.
I publicly give the credit to people when they give it. I borrowed the term from you. So when I said that the one way that we are celebrating 75th anniversary of our independence is by going and having an office in the UK where the corner offices would be owned by the Browns and the Whites would be working around the corner office. So he said, brilliant, it's a reverse colonization. I said, brilliant, if that happens, that is the reverse colonization that we like to make happen.
Great. And you've taken to, I've seen that you've grown a mooch since the last time I saw you, and you've got that lovely little tuft of hair below your, near your chin. So
you're not supposed to get personal in public.
No, it's okay, come on.
And commenting about look is very personal.
No, you're a good looking man. I'm not making
even
fast.
that is
I don't swing that way.
Even that is personal, very
Can I ask my question?
If you take a poll, ask people to raise their hand.
Yeah, how many people think he's good looking?
Hang on. Don't take that poll. If you take a poll, as many people raise their hands that they are willing to pay for News9 Plus, at the most, that many people will raise their hands. So don't take that poll.
Right. How many people think he's good looking?
No, don't, please.
Quite a few, not as many.
No, they are serious people. No, you can't play jokes on them.
Okay. Now let's get to business.
There is a cerebral quotient. There is a physical quotient. People here are more concerned about the cerebral quotient. They are not concerned about the physical quotient.
But, okay, can I ask the question? Okay. The question is, you've taken to coming on screen and doing something called duologue. How has the experience been talking to some of the leaders? You spoke to Subhash Chandra, you spoke to Narayana Murthy and his wife, you spoke to that Telugu superstar Vijay. I can't pronounce his second name.
Vijay Deverakonda.
Deverakonda. I'll finally be able to pronounce it now, thanks. And you've done a lot of interviews. And how has this fared in India and how has it fared internationally? And how do you view that piece? Is it content or is it news?
Okay, so this is something which I was focused into. Okay.
You were forced into it?
I was focused into it. The people said that you should do it, try and do it. So I gave it a shot. According to me, I would give myself about 6 or 7 out of 10. I haven't done enough practice. I haven't faced camera. I believe in doing things which I would be in the top bracket, but I'm yet to get there. But it's not an interview. It's duologue. But I can assure you that if you watch it, you'll like it. If you start watching it, you'll go through it. Because the difference, why it is duologue and not an interview, because I don't ask questions.
You're having a chat, you're having a conversation.
No, I express my perspective on things.
Okay.
Then I engage myself in a discussion, pick their brain, and then the discussion progresses from one point, we go to another point. So it's a seamless flow, it's not an interview. It gone off very well, much beyond my expectations, and you gave me that somebody talked to you.
Yeah, I was in MIP TV this year, and somebody told me that I must watch your conversation with Mr. Subhash Chandra, because Mr. Subhash Chandra expressed to you that though his equity in Zee Sony has gone down to 4%, he's going to get it back to the level that he had before. I don't know how that's going to happen, but I'm sure Mr. Chandra is that driven that he will.
So, but I'm not a journalist. So when I talk to them, there are people who are my advisors, part of the research team. They keep saying that you get into it, it'll make it to the headline. I said, I'm not a journalist. I'm not fishing for a headline. I'm there for a cerebral conversation, and that's about it. But sometimes people have expressed things which they haven't expressed things elsewhere. But one of the latest one, I think everybody must watch it, the second episode, that I raised a very pertinent question, that I said that India is not leveraging 50% of its strength, which are the women. And good womanhood will always have to precede it by good wifehood. So I said that on time. And why so? Why didn't you take the corner office 40 years back? Then possibly chairwoman would have become a legitimate term in Oxford or Cambridge. So these are the radical things. Everything.
And this was with Narayana Murthy and his wife. That's what you told Narayana Murthy.
No, I asked Sudhamurthy. Why didn't the Kulkarni launch? When would I see a Kulkarni creating an entry, and a Murthy is playing the support role? So I still need to.
How many of your women like that pot over here? Just one. Unless you're not listening. Oh God, I like the thought that, that a woman be sitting in the corner office and I'm looking after
So
the
it's
kids.
basically you got to leverage 50% of your strength.
Yeah.
You can't just make 50% follow you. That can't happen.
Absolutely. I understand. Now comes the crucial part. I think everyone will be chasing you after this. You're setting up an entertainment studio, a la Applause, a la Geo, a la all the other studios that are coming up. Now, what's your plan with it? How many writers are you looking for? How many shows you're looking at producing? I think everyone's forked up now. It's not about news, now it's about entertainment, drama. Everyone's ears are perking up.
Well, I think it came from the thought that I feel reality is far more astonishing than fiction. The kind of things happen in real life, I think very seldom fiction writers would be able to write that kind of stories. And we sit on repertoire of huge knowledge, incidences, research, reporters. Converting that into content is a low-hanging fruit for us. And personally for me, that's a stress buster. While I have always been associated with news, I feel that I'm not a news person per se. I understand consumer
You're a
side.
management person, hardcore, Anand Bazar Patrika, all the way.
Look, mostly I've been in media on the news side, but what I felt that I understand consumer side.
Sure.
I mean, I won't be able to write piece, but if you bring in a piece to me, I would most certainly be able to tell you whether it will work for your intended target audience. So I thought I'll leverage that, take that as a stress buster, leverage the network TV9. So we set up this Studio 9, where we will be producing content both scripted and unscripted. We're already into producing content scripted and unscripted. If everything goes all right, at least 2 of our content will make it to some of the OTT platforms in this year. And again, so I believe that either we would be there as one of the most significant players or we won't be there. So we would like to make it big, but take one step at a time. If one thing makes it big, then you can go more aggressive about it and get going with it. So content, according to me, is a business which has unlimited potential. Going forward, the demand of content is such that anything that we produce, if they are right for the audience that you're producing, if you're somewhere in the vicinity of being right, your content would be taken off the shelf.
Since you said you're going to be cautious, so investments are also going to be cautious in this space, but can writers, storytellers over here reach out to your office?
Yeah, definitely. So so those are not big investments. Big investments come into production. So we are investing in doing the research, in developing the Bible, developing the concept, and very soon we might announce a significant partnership, which I can't say today. So it'll be something where personally I'll get very involved, and I promise you one thing, that I would not make that I would not compromise with cerebral quotient for creative liberty.
So we see you making a Delhi crime rather than making a Delhi crime kind of a show?
So anything which is based on real incidents.
Okay.
Right? So it may not be, it will be fictionalized. Sometime it will be docu-feature, sometime it will be documentary, but it is based on real incidents.
And do we see other people also for working with News9 Plus, maybe freelancers sending you stuff?
Yeah, so News9 Plus eventually will act like an aggregator. I would tend to think that a lot of, like today, a lot of independent content creators are creating content for platforms. So eventually, a lot of journalists who are working on their own, who prefer to work on their own, in their own time, in their own style, according to me, so the platforms will become aggregator for content produced outside it. So that eventually will happen. I see that happen.
And do you see languageization coming into your OTT platforms, or you see focusing mainly on Hindi? I don't like the word Bollywood, I'm going to repeat it again. People tell me I'm nuts, that it's okay to call it Bollywood, but I'd rather call it Indian cinema, Hindi cinema, Tamil, Malayalam, Telugu cinema. It is not Tollywood, Hollywood, Mollywood, Bollywood, whatever. It is Indian cinema. So, what was I asking? Good Lord, I got lost in my own conversation. It happens sometimes.
No, it's okay, I'll take up that. I think you were about to ask about my views on Indian content.
Yeah.
Right, so on that question, I believe that, I think the Indian content we cannot generalize. We actually have
Also about regionalization.
regionalization. So it is not to that extent about languages, but different markets are behaving in different ways. A few years back, I think Marathi language market in terms of entertainment content, movies, etc. saw a revival, which is happening in Malayalam content. I think with this OTT, the shift that is happening, that from a blockbuster kind of a production, you're moving into content side. And I always felt that the relationship between OTT and big screen is almost like your kitchen and eating out. So both will exist. You won't go eat out and have healthy food. You'll go eat out exotic food. You won't go and watch a movie which is not out and out entertainment going out. If you want to watch good content, you'll watch it on OTT. So OTT films have given a patent, given an opportunity for content creators to write content which is driven by stories. So that some of these markets have taken up very well, but I personally think I might be wrong. I think the OTT content, OTT platforms are always driven by the originals, because if you take a movie, that's not the character that you want. Movies are like, it's like moonlighting. People will come to you for the movie, watch it and not renew them. So if you have to build the character of your, or imagery or a brand of your platform, it is always originals, which is what happens across the world. Hindi is just getting there. I mean,
so you're saying regionalization will take a little time? No, language.
Some of the regionalization for OTT content will take a little more time. Like we have AHA, a group company. It is really
part of AHA is also part of your group. I keep forgetting.
So it is really difficult to create originals within the budget and timeline. So regionalization will take a little longer. As of now, I think Hindi is on the learning curve.
Okay, so how do these people get in touch with your office for Studio 9?
Studio 9, they can write to me on LinkedIn, or my office address will be shared with the participants' office email ID. They can always write. But I'd be glad, we will look out for people who can write content, who are script writers, who have concepts. We would like to work with them and then
and remember, they should be based on real life incidents. So how many of you all want his email address?
So my email address would be santosh.nair at tv9.com.
Santosh is his assistant, by the way.
So he handles my office. If you really
don't think he suddenly changed his identity.
No, I did not say that.
Relax.
I said
that was meant to be a joke, Barun.
The email ID to reach me is
Yeah.
Santosh. I never said that that's mine.
Relax, you are just pulling your leg. It's just some fun.
I am explaining
Yes.
to you.
Yes, sir.
This is truly a fireside chat.
Sorry, NAI.
And please make it based on real incidents. Don't send him any messages which are unwarranted. Send him scripts, because he is very serious about this business. It can be a comedy, but it better be very serious, because comedy is serious business at the end of it all. Anyway, anything you want to ask me before we wrap up?
I love that.
You can't give me once. No, I think first I forgot to compliment you for this great effort and the way you carried forward. I was just asking you that since when you have started Tele Award, I think 2020 or whatever. And I always felt that you have a major problem every time I call you. I respect you for being a journalist. I respect people.
I began as a journalist, now I don't know what I am. I'm trying to discover. Am I a writer? Am I a storyteller?
If there are journalists in this room, just ask them, once a journalist, always a journalist. You know, that's your identity.
No, but they transition from being a journalist to being beyond a journalist.
Look, people, I'm not saying beyond, but all will remain a journalist. He will see things and that's a compliment. And that's a compliment coming from a place that I always feel that I'm not literate enough to be a journalist. So I only...
You're giving me a backhanded compliment.
No, why backhanded? Forehanded compliment. So you've done well. I mean, and you do many other things. Like mine is quite limited. Yours is quite expanded. And I think you come up with one new thing every fortnight. So what are the next big things that is up your sleeve that you share?
See, I'm very excited about one thing, bringing in new things into India. So we're bringing in some new channels into India. One, TV channels, we're distributing them.
So, but the TV channels will have a future.
Full-fledged TV channels, they are international TV channels. We are very excited about technology which can change the way television functions. We are very excited about creating content ourselves. So we've got one show which has gone to stage 2 with Netflix. One digital show. I hate the word web series. Again, I'm very opinionated and I'm open to express my opinion. I prefer to call it an OTT, original or a show. I don't want to call it web series. Everyone's misusing and abusing that word. So that's one more thing. Then the other thing is I want an Indian show to travel across the world. I want Indian content to be watched all over the world.
How does that happen? And how does that? What's the way forward?
That I'm working towards through MIPCOM, which I've been looking after for 23 years.
So I'll tell you what. I mean, if you can, there's a show that we're producing, which will be ready by the Pride month. The name of the show is This Is Me. The show is on LGBTQ community.
Oh, nice.
Right. So it's through talking heads. It's a brilliant structure. So we've got some real well-known community people. So the story will be woven through their versions, how they were born, they identified with themselves, then they expressed how they faced challenges in the social area and professional area, how they have overcome that. So the story would be in parallel about 4 such community people, and interspersed with experts like a medical expert, like an endocrinologist, like a social expert, like a psychiatrist, like a psychologist, like a legal expert. So that is This Is Me, and I think, according to me, it's in English. According to me, if you get a platform when we release it, this will be one of the most viewed English content in India.
Fantastic. Please give it to us. We have a distribution unit called India Spark. We are happy to take it across the world.
Wherever it is, you know, the subject, when we started working on it, I realized a couple of things. First of all, there's a misnomer, LGBTQI. So it's a sexual orientation and gender identity, two completely different things. It is now every day it is in the news. Supreme Court is hearing on that legalization of same-sex
What's
marriage.
your view on that? Should same-sex marriage be allowed? I know we have to get out of the stage. I know you're going to push me off. Same-sex marriage, yes, no. I'm yes.
No, for me, I should be able to do whatever I want as long as I'm not creating impediments for you or the society. My life is my life.
So he's saying yes. He's going roundabout, you know.
Yeah.
Management type.
So no. Why am I saying yes? Possibly, marriage as an institution, I might have a doubt. So I am not going for same-sex marriage. I'm only saying
same-sex relationship.
I am saying that it is me. I should be able to do whatever I want to do as long as I'm not going against the society or against any individual. It's me.
Sure. All right, I think if I don't get off the stage now, we probably have this heavyweight lady here, and I'm a lightweight man.
Yeah, it will be the boxing competition right now.
All right, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. I didn't mean to be offensive when I was cracking jokes with you.
No, I didn't take offense. Yeah. You know, I am very overt character. If I take an offense, the whole world would have known by now.
All right, thank you very much, Barun. A big round of applause for this wonderful CEO and executive who's been very open. Thanks.
Thank you so much. With that, if you may request Anil to kindly step forward. Thank you so much, Mr. Das, for joining us. Let's give him a big round of applause, the MD and CEO, TV9 Network, Mr. Barun Das. Thank you, gentlemen. And with that, we move on to the last session of the day. May we request the team to kindly set up for the panel discussion. Let's revamp the stage. Well, we have a session on the next gen content creators. As the team is creating the stage for the next panel discussion, let me give you a synopsis of the same. We're talking about the Gen Zs who are blurring the lines between the consumers, creators, and the curators. The way listeners trust and respond to them creates an especially intimate bond. Meanwhile, both the generations are serious about amplifying underrepresented viewpoints and vibes. Well, a great topic out there, and we've got an excellent session chair who's going to be curating content around this topic, and of course, we give him the free rein of moderating the session with the flow he would like. Ladies and gentlemen, as the stage is now set, without any further ado, it is time for me to now call upon our esteemed panelists. First up, the founder Creative Vibe, Santosh Kher. Thank you, Santosh.